Before the show, every Tuesday, we enjoy having coffee with our guests just to kind of get to know each other a little bit and everything else. And it was truly a privilege this morning with talking to our guest today. Our guest is Jackie Schwabe, CEO of Mindlight LLC, and has recently released a product for caregivers called Iriis. It's available as a mobile app and helps organize and delegate all the tasks of caregivers. This sounds like such a needed product. Jackie, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how this came to be?
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm humbled. So my name is Jackie Schwabe. I started the concept of Mindlight as a company in about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. But it was the impetus of a terrible moment in my life. Actually, was pregnant with my fourth child, very, very pregnant, I might add. And I had a 2-year-old, and we were taking her to have a diagnosis of autism. So we found out our daughter was autistic. I gave birth a couple weeks later. I lost my job. My mom almost died and went into the hospital. Both my dogs died, and both of my dad and my stepdad had a heart attack within a couple of months.
Oh my gosh!
It was a tad bit overwhelming.
Sure.
For anyone.
Oh gosh, yes.
And I actually was also running a software company that made cardiac MRI software, so it was a pretty demanding career. And all of a sudden, all of that stopped. And I know, it's crazy, right? And I would feel sorry for me, except for my story is not unique.
Isn't that amazing?
It's not. I'm just one of all of the rest of us. We all have the same stories. And instead of continually being frustrated and overwhelmed, I looked for solutions to help me not want to jump off a building. And I couldn't find any. Right? I couldn't find any solutions. So I made one.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh. So that's sort of where Iriis started, the software app. I have a background in software.
Oh.
20 plus years in software integration in home healthcare software.
Wow.
And I was really overwhelmed and I needed help. So we were able to find an amazing funder, Iriis and Louis Garcia. They're fantastic people. And Iriis decided to fund the program because she is an at-home caregiver for her husband who has advanced stage Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And so it's very near and dear to her heart in that aspect. And as a tribute to her, we named the software Iriis, but with 2 eyes because one eye was already taken.
That is
what
so
a
neat.
Story. So Iriis was a caregiver.
Iriis is a caregiver.
Or is it?
Yeah,
Still is
she's
a caregiver.
Yes.
Okay.
She lives in Slinger, Wisconsin, and with her husband, Louis, who speaks lots of Spanish right now because he's Puerto Rican.
Right.
And as his Alzheimer's advances, his Puerto Rican does too. Lots of Spanish.
You know what? And that's a very natural thing.
So if I'm a caregiver and I'm overwhelmed and I can't add possibly one more thing to my plate, how does Iriis, the application, help me?
That's a great question. Thank you very much for asking. So what I found was I had 2 states of living when I was taking care of my mom and still my daughter. I was either bored or overwhelmed, which sounds odd, right? So you spend a lot of time in the waiting room doing nothing, feeling like you should do something. So what I figured out was if I created an application that allowed me to organize my team members, the tasks that I needed to get done, and exchange information, I could do that while I was waiting and theoretically bored and feel like I was doing, so then I wasn't always quite as overwhelmed.
Neat.
Boy, it seems like that was a match made in heaven. I mean, I know you said you found a wonderful background with Iriis and Louis, but knowing that was your background to start with, that would be the exact route that you would go down. And people, I don't think, realize how much downtime there is. When you are a caregiver, you're going to doctor's appointments, or you're going to other activities that cause you to be the one in the waiting area, I guess,
Right,
for
yeah.
lack of a better way.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I think, actually. I believe in a higher power, so I think you're guided to where you need to be. And everything that happens in your life happens to bring you where you are. If I didn't have a background in software development, if I didn't work in home health care, if my mom didn't go through a major crisis, if my daughter wasn't diagnosed with autism, would we have Iriis the app?
No, you're right.
No,
Probably
we wouldn't,
not.
right? So now we do.
Right.
And my big goal in life actually has always been, oddly enough, is to give people the resources, tools, and support that they need to be their best selves. And if you're a caregiver, I think that Mindlight's application, Iriis application, is one of those tools to help you be the best caregiver that you can be.
And this sounds fascinating, especially coming from a caregiver's perspective,
Right.
okay, that have been through it, and you know, in your explanation of what you've already gone through, you have a lot of experience, so you were able to apply this to a very, and we're going to get into this a little more, a very simple app. Say mom and dad are at home, and they're able to do many things for themselves. Can they use this application by themselves?
Yes, and actually that was a pretty big reason for the simplicity of the application. Some of the more advanced folks might look at it and go, wow, that's pretty simple looking. Look at all this new fancy holographs and stuff we have. My grandma's not going to use a holograph, right, or a hologram, or right. My grandma's going to be like, what in our world are you thinking?
Right.
So we actually made the app a lot. You can have the person you're caring for. We are using the word caree, actually based upon a book Denise Brown from the Caregiving Years wrote.
Okay.
I think was a guest previously.
Yeah, she was.
For you guys.
Jackie.
And so the caree can actually be a team member, and that's what you want. 'Cause
Sure.
being able to participate in activities of daily living and incidental activities of daily living is part of what keeps me as a caregiver not overwhelmed. I
Right.
want my mom active. I want my daughter active in their care and in their own life.
Sure.
So it's a click a button. Like, did you do it? Yes. And that's really all there is to
That's
it.
all there is. So it could be used on an iPhone or.
Yeah, you can use it on an
Android.
iPhone, Android app. You can also use it on a computer, any web browser. And the reason for that is if you're going to enter a lot of data, who wants to do that on their phone? So you can enter the data anywhere you want, but one of those places is be able to do it on a computer.
Wow.
Now, what's I know folks are asking, this price point for this product.
That is a great question. Again, you ask great questions. Because I was the overwhelmed caregiver who just lost her job, I had a distinct desire not to make it so expensive other people couldn't get help either. So there's actually 3 tiers of the application, and the one that you all should care about is the free one. It
Wow.
It has all the same functionality as the others, but it is ad supported so that I can eat and feed my children. But
There we go.
you can upgrade it from being ad supported to not being ad supported, and then it's $9.99 a month, a monthly subscription. And if you need a lot of storage space, you have a very complex case, which is very rare that we see, there's another plan that you can upgrade to as well. But we see most of our users are in the free version, and those that have maybe multiple carees utilize the $9.99 version.
Okay.
Oh, so you can have multiple carees.
Yeah,
on this
actually,
app.
that's
Really?
yes. So one of the things we make, the teams are based on the caree. So in my case, my daughter is a caree. Her name is Zoe. She's
Right.
adorable. And my mom, whose name is Genevieve, is another caree.
Okay.
So I can toggle between her view of my daughter and my view of my mom, or because I'm a busy lady sitting in the waiting room doing nothing, I can look at them all. And really, I think that's not as much the power of the app as the fact that I'm sitting in a waiting room doing nothing, and I can assign it to someone who's not sitting in the waiting room doing nothing, and my husband can go get milk while I'm waiting for my mom to come out of surgery.
Wow.
Okay.
Or, the neighbor guy can come over because he's great and help mow the lawn because my husband's getting milk and I'm at the hospital with my mom. So that's really, I needed help, but I needed a way for my husband to know I needed help.
You're building a village right inside your inside this app.
I think it takes a village to raise a villager, right?
Wow.
Jim? And so I just use something that we've all been scared of. Right? Caregivers tend to care and hug and take care of people, and therefore not as much with tech. They don't want to deal with tech.
Right.
But my goal is to use the tech to get you out of the mundane and to give you more time to do the caring.
Well, this would definitely help organize all these tasks that you have to do for activities of daily living
Right.
in every mode. So if you don't have a smartphone or tablet, are there any? You said you can use a computer also.
Yeah, so if you don't have a smartphone or you don't have an iPhone or you don't have an Android, you can use it on a computer, but you can use it on anything that has a web browser.
Anything.
Anything. So I mean, you could literally use it on a Chromebook. You could use it on an iPad.
Okay.
You can go to the library and log in because it's safe and secure, and none of the data is stored on any of the devices.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is keeping it HIPAA
Compliant.
within those compliances. And you could go to the library and use it to check in. We actually have a friend who's what he self-declared traveler, which means he doesn't have a home base and he travels around the U.S. And he actually uses it with a church that is the resident location for him.
Wow.
So that they always know he's okay, even if he's somewhere, wherever somewhere is.
Wow.
Oh, that brings all sorts of possibilities of thought there.
I think so as well, right. Yeah. I just don't want anyone to ever feel as overwhelmed and alone as I felt. And if this can help, well then, great.
So what if you're like a family caregiver and you've hired a home care agency and maybe to take care of maybe your elderly parent, and maybe say, let's throw in, home health is involved maybe in caring for them as well, not just home care. How could that group use Iriis?
That's a great question, and I actually have personal experience with that. My daughter is autistic, and one of the things that you get with that, we can elect to, is ABA therapists. So they came in and out of our home 40 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
And there were 4 to 5, sometimes all of them meeting as a team. And what you find is they have lives too, and they need to go to a doctor's appointment. Well, by the time I worked through the hierarchy of, hey, I'm not going to be there, to the supervisor, to the next person, they just weren't there and I didn't know where they were. Which was almost okay if it was at home, but not so much okay when she was at school or if she was at their agency, because that meant my nonverbal little girl who couldn't speak or talk or tell people she needed something was alone, which is not acceptable, right? So what we can utilize the application for, and what we've heard from even senior living facilities is they want more active involvement by the caregivers to show up to doctor's appointments or to tell them what's going on, or even to know, because sometimes mom doesn't want you to bother because she's nice, right? Don't bother with that caregiver helping person. No. And then you go over and the laundry's still not done and you're mad at the home care guy because you didn't do your laundry. Well, because mom told him not to do it. So if you create a shared list with an assignment, anyone that you give invited access to can see what that list is, what's assigned to them, and they know that's what they're supposed to do, even though mom's super sweet and doesn't want you to do it.
Good
and
setup.
And it's the caregiver. So when I have cancellations, I have immediate cancellations, and then I have time to do something about it.
Sure.
Because technology has this one great thing that people forget about. It is anonymous, or it feels anonymous. My lovely ladies that came and helped take care of my daughter felt really bad calling me to tell me they couldn't come. They didn't mind so much telling a computer. So they would tell me the day before when they knew, instead of 5 minutes before, their supervisor would call and tell me. So it gives you anonymity where that's good, instead of where it's not necessarily good. And that's how we were able to use it in the home health care, home health agency. A caregiver is a caregiver is a caregiver.
Yeah, what's amazing is you had just mentioned it could be used in a facility.
Yeah, so we actually had a partnership with a facility. Recently they were purchased by another facility, but their big concern and their struggle was often they would invite family caregivers to come to the facility and then meet them to go to the doctor. And often what would happen is the doctor's office calls, right? It's nothing to do with the caregiving facility. It was nothing to do with the patient or the family. And they canceled or they rescheduled, which is fine. It's normal operating, right? But the family member doesn't know. And the senior centers sometimes remember to call. Sometimes they don't. Or someone did get called, but they weren't the one going that week. They had delegated that to Sister Susie. So Susie comes and is like, well, aren't we going to the doctor? And they're like, no, we're not. Then so A, she wastes her trip. B, whenever the appointment was, no one knows, and there is no caregiver there. So they just utilized it to facilitate facility and family caregiver communications, which were outside of the senior centers systems, because they didn't want to add a family caregiver in as a user and pay for it, because you have to pay for user seats. They're like, well, we can just tell them this got canceled this way. And then even if it was Susie, I'm the primary caregiver, but we all have a shared list. So within the shared list, we're like, oh crud, right? This is not going to happen this way unless we work things. So that was how we utilized it in that particular environment.
I almost feel like everybody that's involved in that caregiver list appreciates the fact that you have that, because anybody who is within that, I still will call it a family, even if it's kind of an extension of that, they want to know what it is that they can be doing at a certain given time.
Right.
You know, they're there because they want to have a list to check off.
Yes. Right. And I think that's one of the things I would caution is, as caregivers or primary caregivers, in my case, I'm absolutely the right and the best person in the world to do something for my mom or my daughter. But I'm not the only one. And I can't be the only one, because then things do get missed. And you're also stealing from the other party their ability to feel useful and needed and that they're helping by not allowing them to. But you still might not want to talk to your weird brother Bob, right? So you could keep that anonymity by putting it in the app as something that needs to get done, not have to talk to your weird brother Bob, still let him feel like he's getting to help, and feel a little bit less overwhelmed.
So what if, let's say you're the family caregiver and you've identified something you need help with, maybe it's a ride to the doctor, but you don't know who to do it. Is there a way to kind of like put it out there to the group to say, I need help with blah, blah?
Yes, there is. And that was the biggest part of what I wanted to be very apparent. So there's a dashboard, which essentially when you log in, everybody starts there. It's your home base. And on the home base, anything that has no assignment, which hopefully when you're a primary caregiver, you should always start that way. Just put it in, see where you can get some love before you start taking it all on. There's a big giant purple hand that says, help me.
I like that.
And so purple because Iriis is purple. But it has a big purple hand, and if you touch it, then you own it. If you don't, then you don't. And so it allows you to, that list is shared by all people that are caregivers, so they all can see what needs help and what doesn't. And then as an individual caregiver, your dashboard contains what you've elected to do, and it would show you, if you look, any of the things that are needing to be done, period, by whomever.
So if you're a family caregiver and you don't live, like right there, maybe you work a working family caregiver, there's a lot of them, and you have a paid family caregiver or a neighbor or somebody there, you can put the kind of the laundry list. Some of our clients leave a list, so you could put a list on Iriis for these folks to know, hey.
Absolutely. You can put the list on Iriis, and the other thing that I like about this, because if you think of the caregiving agency sort of scenario, very often there are multiple caregivers that come and assist. So you can either keep the purple hand up that says, help me please, or you can assign multiple people to single tasks. So let's say it's changing the sheets or doing a load of laundry. You could assign all three of the people that normally are involved from the home agency in the event that maybe they switch shifts.
Right.
Nobody wants to deal with all the numbers and switching and the times and all of that. I don't need to know that part.
Right.
But it still wants you to do the laundry, and you still need to know. So you could either assign it to all, or leave it unassigned. And either way, they would be able to see what's there.
Wow. And, I'm trying to visualize this. You know, being a guy, I got to visualize this. Okay, so you have the dashboard, okay? Can you have a weekly plan? Like we were talking about cutting grass before, right? Okay, so that task is open. It's not assigned. You have a purple hand, okay? So a family member or even a neighbor can...
Or the carrier.
Or the carrier, okay, can either take that job or say, hey, you know what? I have time on Thursday evening. They can even tell you, put in the app when they're going to do it, right?
Yep.
Wow.
That's very nice.
If you don't mind me asking a question, so that the purple hand then becomes visible to all the people within the network for that caregiver, or for the caree, right? For the person who needs the care.
Yes, ma'am.
So who's ever in the network. So then, let's just say, because I might have a heart of gold, and I say, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Will Iriis also help me to say, you know what, Leah, you booked yourself too much?
So I cannot tell you when you've overextended yourself, because every caregiver that's ever lived overextended themselves.
Always over there. And out of 4 kids, you have one always answering that purple hand,
exactly.
right?
But what we do have is there's some small visual cues for the team and the primary caregiver. Like an orange exclamation point means that, hey, we created it and we said we would get it done, but it's not done and it should have been done. So, hey, someone, can you help? Because, maybe.
She gives those little clues, those little hints.
Like polite hints that aren't so, because people don't want to be reminded of what else they're not doing.
Right,
but
exactly. That
you
makes
kind of
sense.
need to be reminded that you didn't brush grandma's teeth for like the 6th day in a row. So we do create visual cues, and even the assignee or the person who's taken the task, it's actually a picture of them. There's a little circle next to the task, so you don't have to go and look and read and figure it out. You go, oh, that's Uncle Bob, or oh, that's Jim, or that's Kathy. So it makes it real quick and easy for those of you that are visual. To see
Thank
what's
you
going
for
on.
that.
Yep.
Now you mentioned your app is free. So you can try it, right?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Try
Okay,
it,
great.
Download it.
Oh yeah, so I want to make that a point. The app is free.
Right.
So family caregivers, this is a great opportunity for you. And as we're sitting here, I'm thinking of so many things. Kathy is shaking her head yes, that we're going to go into this app and see how a professional caregiver company might be able to incorporate some of this in our caregiving plans and responsibilities.
Absolutely. And the name of it is Iriis with 2 I's, so IRIIS. So you can look for it in the App Store or on Google Play. But the easiest way to do it is just to go to Mindlight LLC, so MINDLIGHT LLC.com. And that will give you a link to both the web version, the iPhone version, the Android version, whatever one you need, you can get it there. And just for your users, if they want to utilize the $9.99 version, they can use it for free by using the code. FREE1LIT. And that will give you all of the features and none of the ads for a month on the application.
Oh, cool.
So if you want to do that, FREE1LIT at MindlightLLC.com.
She's got some major street cred here too, because I just looked up and newswire.com posted a story, I don't know if it was in the Digital Journal in February.
Oh,
out of New
really?
York. Yeah, on Jackie and on
Oh,
Mindlight.
Jackie.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
nice.
Wow.
And what website was that?
It's digitaljournal.com. It's just a story on there. I'll put a link on our Facebook page because I did put a picture of the app on our Facebook page as well as the name, etc., so people can follow it through there too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very quickly, and our show's only a half hour, always, and we can never give our audience enough information. Can you very briefly talk about the difference between the Lite app and the Platinum version?
The Lite and the Platinum, only difference is the Platinum one has several gigabytes of data storage for people who have very complex needs. That's literally the only difference, and the only reason we did that was so that we could we could pass the cost of the paying for the extra storage on.
Sure.
So there isn't any functionality differences, only the amount of data that you could store in there for data file storage. But most of what caregivers are doing do not involve the data, storing the information like that. One way to do that though is if you go to the doctor, I don't know the last time you were there, they give you the visit summary, and then every single person in your entire family all calls you and asks you how mom's doing.
Yeah.
Or you can just take a quick picture of the visit summary, it loads it into Iriis, and everyone can go look at it themselves.
Oh, isn't that awesome?
Cool.
And if they want to be text, they can get a text notification. If they want to be emailed, they can be email notified. Or if they just want to be in the app that way, so you don't have to remember to call Uncle Bob, who's the only one that still hasn't got on the email, and he's the one you have to text, or it just asks for what they need, gives it to them the way they need it, and that way you don't have to spend so much time dealing with that, more time hanging out with mom.
Now, how can our listeners connect with you, Jackie, if they want to kind of go forward and explore this?
If they go to Mindlight, Mindlight LLC.com, they'll find my information, my contact info. We have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm out there.
Okay.
Jackie Schwabe with an E, Mindlight LLC.
Thank you.
Jackie, you have been fantastic, and what a tool for our audience to check out, to use, anything that is helpful to help take care of mom and dad makes it easier. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you,
Thank
Jackie.
you.